I have been participating in the State Fair of Texas since 2004. I've always baked, I've always cooked. I probably never would have become a canner had it not been for the inspiration of my cohorts saying, well, you ought to enter the canning contest. I grew up around canners, my mother, my grandmother. I loved home canned things, but I just never did it. So then I started exploring that, and I'm thinking now that when I'm through baking and cooking and wagging that to the State Fair of Texas, I will still continue to can and take my canning entries in the hopes of making that wall. Been making peach pies since I came to Dallas. My friends love them. They always clamored about, this is good enough for the State Fair of Texas. And I would go, thank you, thank you, thank you. Never thought it could happen, never thought it would happen. And then in 2004, I sort of was like lassoed and told, we're taking you and your pie to the State Fair of Texas. And I thought, we'll see, we'll see. And all of a sudden, the next thing I knew, it was State Fair, fall. And so my buddies rounded me up. They knew I wouldn't go on my own, had never seen the handbook, had never seen the rule book. So we wait for the results come out. There is no ribbon for Rex Poland. We're headed toward the gate to come home, and they're already talking about next year. I'm going like, what do you mean next year? There is no next year. We did it, I did it, we're through. They went, oh no, now we know the rules. Now we understand. So a year passes, it's State Fair of Texas again, and I'm thinking, I had better learn how this all works. So I chose another contest at random from the catalog, and the whole deal was you had to bake your dish in a cast iron skillet. I thought, I've got my grandmother's 150-year-old cast iron skillet. So off I went to the State Fair of Texas, queued up in a line with all these other contestants, turned my skillet in, went away, went to the fair, came back, and the judges were still judging. And these three skillets kept coming back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And the judges would talk and point and look and listen and sample. And I thought, well, that must be the three winners because that's not my skillet. I don't recognize that. And the contents, I thought, so no ribbon for Rex again. So I'm sitting there, and finally they're through, and they make the announcements. I found out the three they were looking at was a battle over what received honorable mention. They named honorable mention, they named third, yours truly. They named second, they named first, it was over. People began to congratulate one another. It was a wonderful feeling, but the real joy in that contest was not so much the ribbon or even getting a ribbon, was the fact that I actually met people and I knew people and I felt like I was connected with the Creative Arts State Fair of Texas contest process. I mean, there are images that I will never forget, walking into the Creative Arts building, to waiting for the results, to finding out the results, and then going home and just pigging out on pie. That's really probably the best part. This little baby right here, well, not just one, but a whole bunch of these little babies initiated my participation in State Fair of Texas. The peach starts with being blanched and then cut and put in a lemon water bath, sometimes with sugar. This is my peach pie mixture. I like to make the peach concoction ahead of time. I like for it to zhuzh up in the refrigerator. I like it cold. I think that makes for a more even baking in the pie. This particular dough has ground up cinnamon in it, and it also has almond flour, and it's more of a pastry dough than just a traditional pie crust dough. I think I was baking pies long before I successfully could bake a cake. Okay, here comes peach pie filling. There's something about the deep dish pie that is so, so attractive. Okay, enough of that. Venting a pie is very important because it lets the juices breathe and bubble. Otherwise, your pie would explode. But don't think that venting always resolves that issue. You can still have an overflow if your pie is too juicy. When I put the pie together, I do a twist first, and then I come back and crimp. Crimping is a process where you flour your fingers and you do a simple push, pinch, push, pinch. There's a million different ways to make a pie look classy. Basically, when you create a pie from scratch, all the prep involved, especially if you're doing your own fruit, can take you anywhere up to 4 hours. Don't let that deter you though. It's well worth the process. This particular pie bakes at one temperature for 20 minutes and then an hour at another temperature. Okay, at this point we're going to take the pie crust and I am stirring up a little egg yolk and a little milk, half and half. And I'm going to brush it over the crust. This seals it. This gives it sort of a shiny finish, and it does something special to a pastry crust. This is your handy combination sugar and cinnamon grinder. Cinnamon is just a go-to for grapefruit flavor. I'm gonna add a little bit of sugar. This always makes me think of my grandmother. She was not much on using a measuring spoon. It was like a pinch of this and a pinch of that. We're going into the oven now for 20 minutes, and then it will come back to 375 for an hour. Voila. Hair and a freckle time. Let's eat peach pie. And my friends, here you have it. Peach pie for a peach posse. State Fair of Texas.